Hi, I'm Karim Marucchi, and I help run Crowd Favorite. We do enterprise-size WordPress and open source site development for large Fortune companies.
Cool. So Karim, I know you've had a slightly more colorful background than the average WordPress person, so give us a little bit of your background and how you ended up where you are today.
Well, I fell into the web business back in '94 when everybody was starting small shops, and I had the unique experience of having my first shop first brought into US Web, and then going through that experience, riding that roller coaster, finding a WPP-backed venture capital group to start another venture, took that public on the Italian Stock Exchange, rode that roller coaster, did another small boutique shop, did an employee buyout on that one, and now I've decided I wanted to do something a little bit different than the past.
So you don't sound like an engineer.
Not at all. Not at all.
How would you describe yourself?
Project management and client management. I've always been a good client manager, but a technical one.
Okay. And your current role at Crowd Favorite is?
CEO.
Okay. How do you think you got to being a CEO? Because it's obviously not something you do at school.
True. Lots of mistakes. Years and years of trying to run small and medium businesses and work with large businesses and understanding the production value and the production process of delivering websites.
So it's basically a trial and error to leadership?
Always. I think that's the best way.
And now that you're at this point, would you be able to describe the style of leadership that most epitomizes you?
I would say that probably when people describe my leadership skills, it's probably visionary consensus. So I try to provide a vision and I try to build a consensus around that vision. And I try to make sure that we're all pulling in the same direction. I spend much more time working with different team members than actually off in a corner working on something by myself.
Right. So just explain a little bit about getting consensus, because often, especially now with a distributed business like yours, not everybody's in the room at the same time. People are doing different jobs in different parts of the world. How do you get consensus? What's involved in that?
So it's about literally working through. Some people need a grand vision. Some people need more details, sort of take me through it step by step. It's about really getting to them face to face, even if you're talking about they're across the world and you have to do it through video chat, or you have to get on a plane and get there and talk to them. It's almost the same presentation skills you have with clients, but instead of trying to sell them on what you're going to deliver to them, you have to sell them on themselves. You have to help foster what they're going to be doing and bring them up so the organization can follow behind them.
Okay, good. So this is now leading into the culture conversation. Obviously consensus is one of those things, and getting behind the same vision. What are the other aspects of culture that you notice the most and you feel need the most attention from you?
Well, in today's context, it's very important, in my opinion, to sort of almost artificially at first make different team members around the world have more video conversations than email or chat. There's something that's lost in today's culture by only electronic communication, and that's that human aspect of just trying to make sure that we understand each other and what's important to each other. So it's been very difficult, yet very rewarding to try and figure out with Skype video these days, or Google Hangouts, or the new tools that are coming out. My company was one of the first companies originally that bought the Cisco system back in the day that costs over $100,000, and now you can do it with $80 webcams. So it's about making sure you set it up so that people, if they're not necessarily in the same room, can still feel part of the same team.
Okay. And building a team is not the same as keeping that team rolling in the same direction. What's your approach or philosophy to building that team?
So in our particular case, we have set offices in different cities. So people coming in have this structure of having a team around them locally, but we also mix up the teams so that they're not just working with local teams. They're forced to work across offices. And in doing that, you're creating both a local team and a team that is more distributed, that lets you sort of have a different venting for different types of creativity.
Mm-hmm.
So for us, it's been important to try and figure out how we're going to do that and profitably, and not create some of the same silos that larger companies have, because we want to keep this relatively small.
Right. Now, with all these offices, you're obviously getting on a plane and visiting them a lot.
Mm-hmm.
How do you fit that into your lifestyle? Is that something you do easily? Is it stressful for you?
Well, for me, it's been luck and ease. I've been traveling almost my whole life for business, so it's been something that's been sort of ingrained in me. Since the late 90s, I've worked with international shops, so it's just something I'm used to doing, is jumping around, being in a different city a different week.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of work.
It is.
So, apart from dividing your time amongst all these people, there are other stresses in the CEO's role.
Mm.
How do you get around those stresses or relieve those stresses?
I did a lot of driving on track and off track. I love to take moments in my travels to explore the different areas I get to go to.
Mm-hmm.
And just people watch and travel for private as well as business, so that way I don't see the line, it sort of blurs.
Good, yeah. So even when you're not working, you're still traveling.
That's true.
That's cool. When you think about yourself as a personality, do you think your personality has changed much over the years to accommodate your leadership role?
Patience.
Patience.
The older we get, the more patience we learn, and I think it's done me personally a world of good. The younger you are, the more you want to go out there and attack and get that client and get that project out there. And you learn when you can say no and when you can pass up a certain opportunity because you can find another one. And you just learn how to deal with different points of stress better.
Now, you've obviously had guidance along the way, maybe friends or mentors or possibly even role models. Mm-hmm. Can you talk to that a little bit and tell us where you get your inspiration from?
Well, in my personal life, my father ran an architecture engineering firm for very many years, and he led teams that were in Europe and South America. So it was very important to see how he was leading these things before there was the internet. They had literally telephones and the telex. After that, in this industry, I've tried to keep mentors at different leadership positions in different companies, from Qualcomm and Disney and other large Fortune companies. I've tried to keep a close relationship with some friends I've made in executive circles, and I run things past them.
And do you read much? Do you take the heed of all the business books that are out there?
I do. Lately, I've switched to audiobooks just because of my travel schedule. Most of my reading is internal reading. But I used to do a lot of reading of the different leadership books and the different leadership styles.
If you think about the future of Crowd Favorite, and maybe the future of yourself, could you describe a little bit of that vision for the people watching this video?
Certainly. We're trying to build a small but iterative company around the idea of offices peppered around the world, providing unique, top quality development projects for Fortune clients. So we want localized project management, localized development, but with a cross based on the experience or the deep niche you need that we can pull from different offices. So the office structures are actually very small. We don't imagine growing any office past 15, 25 maximum for any one major area. But by cross-pollinating the offices and having everybody work across one structure, we're hopefully going to be able to have something that has the highest possible quality, yet can service clients locally.
So, the interesting answer, or what I read into that answer, was that there was no reference to any particular technology. Now, you guys are WordPress experts, but you didn't mention any technology. Why is that? Is there something bigger than what we're seeing here today?
Well, that's probably a better question for Alex, our CTO, but we pride ourselves on open source. We happen to be experts in the WordPress community, but as anybody who's been in this business a long while knows things evolve, things change. So we're constantly trying to follow that iterative process of what's best suited for the client. Mm-hmm. We're not trying to hit whatever client nail there is with the WordPress hammer. We will do whatever is necessary for a certain client. So we don't know what the future will bring, but we've got our eye out.
Okay, good to know. And when you think again about yourself, what's still missing? What do you feel like you could still work on to be a better leader?
Do we have that much time? I'm just constantly trying to hire, find, and train people who are smarter than myself. We've brought on a COO that does head and shoulders a better job than I do at reining in some of the client problems that crop up in anything. And it's just about constantly bringing in new talent, training them with your experience, but seeing how to bring the vision forward. And I really think that I continue to learn by seeing how people who come in, who might be fresh, who might have a different experience, look at things differently. No matter how I'm sure there's one particular way to solve a problem, somebody with 2 years experience will walk in and go, what about doing it that way? And you're like, well, that's valid, let's look at that.
Yeah. So final question. You've obviously done an extraordinary amount of things in this part of your lifetime. What's the legacy that you'd like to leave behind?
I'd like to create Crowd Favorite as a company that continues to go on past any one particular internet bubble or wave or technology. The biggest shortcoming in the technology industry today is people have lost a sense of career, a sense of home. Very quickly people go from one job to another and they don't keep the same career. They're bouncing around. I'd like to create a company that people can feel at home at, that people can grow within and stay at long term.
It's a good vision. Karim, thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Absolute pleasure.